Hello guys, how are you? Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are having an amazing, beautiful day. If you'll notice, I am having a live with you on a totally different day, but I felt inspired. I felt so inspired to jump on here, have you guys meet with me today on this live at the Anyone Can Write podcast with the Adult Play Therapy show. I hope you guys are having an amazing day today, whatever day that it is for you. Where I'm located, it is now Wednesday. Hi, how are you? Jay Christine 17. Thank you for joining. So today I want to talk to you guys about character analysis. When I first started this podcast, I started it talking about writing, that anyone could write. As many of you know, I'm so inspired by Bob Ross. Love Bob Ross. Have so many fond memories of him growing up. He is a comfort place for me. He's like comfort soup, okay? He is comfort soup. His voice, the beautiful points that he makes, and the encouragement that he gives as far as being able to paint, it is a legacy. He may not be here physically anymore. His beautiful energy is still here, and we're able to experience it anytime whenever we log onto our YouTube pages or we get onto the PBS channels and networks. We're able to experience once again the beauty that he left for us with the beautiful paintings that he has, as well as the beautiful encouragement that he gave. That was the beginning of how these lives even started. It started as a way of encouraging people. Anyone can write. If you want to do writing with your dolls, or you want to write a book, a novel, a series, a TV show, a script, you can do it. And you don't have to be a professional at it. You don't have to go to school for it. Did I go to school for it? Yes. But in the same hand, even given that, I believe in the talents of raw writers. Now, in my case, I ended up becoming engaged in the midst of going to grad school. I've gone to grad school 3 times. But my second tenure of going to grad school for my MFA, I got engaged, I got married, got pregnant, and ended up having to leave. Felt really down on myself, but then I recognized that all of the writers, playwrights, and authors that we were studying were authentic, raw authors who didn't even go to school for it. And that's what inspired me with this channel, with this podcast, was to say, hey, you don't have to go to school for this. You can write whatever ideas that you imagine. You can write it up. You can dream it up. So from that point on, I started to connect with other people that had storyline accounts, contacted them and said, hey, do you mind being on my podcast? Do you mind talking about the amazing storyline that you have and how you're able to create such beautiful work with your dolls and your photography, and just share your work that you have and really treat those people like the experts that they are. And it's been so rewarding. And if ever you need to go back and look at any of those videos, you can find those on my page right now, on my feed. You can find any of those videos. You can also go on my YouTube page and find that. And it is the same name, Sacred Pair Playland. You can find any of the videos that are from the past, what, two or 3 years. I should know my anniversary, but I don't. With so many different anniversaries to keep up with, and the main one is my marriage anniversary. Yeah, you gotta know your wedding anniversary, right? But nonetheless, I am really enthused today. Like I said, I felt inspired to share this with you. As you guys know, I got 10 kids, and I can kind of hear them starting to brew. Their energy's brewing, so this is going to be a short live, but I just wanted to jump on here real quick, talk to you guys about character analysis. I do notice, and I spent years being a teacher as well, okay? I just want to throw that out there. I did. I spent a number of years being a teacher. I met my husband. I was in grad school. I was also teaching, and I'm not like a huge grammar expert or anything like that. But I do kind of like notice whenever, you know, we're talking in first person, second person, third person, something like that, and then there's like not really a smooth transition and things of that nature. But that's just me. That's just me, okay? Another thing that I notice is that sometimes we can get kind of hung up on who is our main character. And I feel like for us who are doll collectors, who are doing storyline, it is so hard to figure out who's my main character, especially when Mattel and other companies bring out such beautiful dolls, and you buy those dolls, and you want to photograph those dolls, and you want them involved with your storyline, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get this doll involved with my storyline, right? Without having a massive amount of characters. It's almost like getting married and having 15 or 25 bridesmaids, right? You have the 5 that you love so much, but then you're still cool with the 15 or 20. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. How do you do this? And you know that they would look great in the wedding dress or in the bridesmaid's dress, right? And I'm just throwing it out as an example. But for those of us who are like really, really true doll collectors, hello. Yes, exactly. So true. So exactly. Like when you have a whole lot of dolls, you're one. Hi, Purple Consular. How are you doing? When you have a whole lot of dolls, you want to be able to feature those beautiful dolls. And it's really, really hard if you have them boxed up in a tub on the shelves and you're not really able to put them, you know, right there, front line onto your account. It's really, really hard. Hey, lady, how are you too? So what I want to talk to you guys about is character analysis. Like I said, it's going to be really, really brief. I want to talk to you guys about protagonists and antagonists. And in those categories, we have dynamic characters, static characters, minor, major characters, foil characters, and symbolic characters. Did you know it was so many characters, first off? Did you know it was so many characters? That's a lot of characters, right? Dynamic, static, minor, major, foil, symbolic. And you're going, what does this all mean? Now, you may have already heard about protagonists and antagonists. He said, no, exactly, no, we didn't know, right? Whole lot of characters, and I imagine there's even more. These are just the ones that we're mentioning right now. When we think about protagonists, we oftentimes think of someone that's more the hero, you know, P-R-O, from a Latin verb or Latin root word for, you know, good, go. That oftentimes is seen as the good person, the hero, the protagonist. Not always true. I've recently learned, since doing these podcast shows, spoke to my mentor on this show, check out that live, and he was mentioning that the protagonist can also be the negative character. I was like, no, yes, yes. And so then, of course, you have the antagonist, which is oftentimes noted as being the villain or even the anti-hero, right? Anti-hero, I will admit, was a new word to me that I learned only with the movie Black Adam, in which I heard Dwayne Wade, is his name Dwayne? No, Dwayne. Oh, don't get me now. Don't get me for not knowing this guy's name. Dwayne The Rock. I don't remember his last name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Hey, I'm sorry. I can't remember. Dwayne The Rock was talking and he was saying about his character being the anti-hero. And I was just like, wow, I did not know there was an anti-hero until he spoke about it, and then I went in to look at it. J. Kristen 17 said, I do love the underdog and anti-hero. Thank you, Purple Consular Johnson, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. There we go. And I should know, because my husband oftentimes does listen to his podcast whenever he speaks. He has them on his on his Instagram or his YouTube. I appreciate Dwayne The Rock. I'm not like a huge fan or anything of that nature, but I appreciate his work and what he does. So I'll put it like that. But when he spoke about anti-hero, I was like, wow, I'm flabbergasted by this terminology. Went back to look it up. So oftentimes, whenever we hear the antagonist, it can also be the anti-hero. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna wave at you. Okay, so let's talk about dynamic. Let's get right into it. And I got my notes. You guys know I'm all about the notes. I have literally written all the way through this whole notebook. Just got this thing. Hi, Miss T's Doll Room. How are you doing? So dynamic is one who learns a lesson or changes as a person, either for the better or the worse. Because as many of us know, changes can take place and it doesn't always have to make you better. It can also make you worse, right? So a dynamic character is one who learns a lesson or changes as a person, either for the best or for the worst. Now, I'm going to give you guys a real quick example. Like I said, I got my 10 little children. They're all upstairs, and they're got their little energy brewing. I hear them because the door's opening and shutting. So this isn't going to be extremely long, but I do want to share this one with you. My children they're homeschooled, and one of the courses that they take is a Pixar in the Box course. I also view this information with them. And one of the examples that they gave for Pixar in a Box, if you guys don't know anything about it, go check that out. It is available on YouTube. You just won't be able to get any of the curriculum and the assignments that's attached to those videos. But you can definitely check out the videos on YouTube. But they use an example of Finding Nemo, right? And on Finding Nemo, our dynamic character would definitely be the dad. And I'm trying to think of his name right now. His name is so escaping me. He's a clownfish. You know who I'm talking about, right? Okay, so Nemo's dad. We'll just say Nemo's dad. How about that? Nemo's dad is going to be our dynamic character because he goes through this journey that changes his whole philosophy. He literally has a paradigm shift from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. And he kind of goes from being like extremely skeptical and frightened and scared of his son going out beyond the reef to now being like, hey, he has to grow up. You know, I'm still here for him. He knows that I'm here to support him, but I have to let him grow. And we see him being so serious and so like tense in the very beginning, right? But then at the end of the storyline, he's loosening up. He's telling jokes. He's a clownfish, so he's trying to tell the joke. And it's a very elongated joke. No one else is getting it. They're like, okay, come on, right? But he's a dynamic character. We see a shift. We see a change. And in that case, it was for the best. Now you take another movie. I watch a lot of cartoons. So, hey, you're going to hear cartoon references throughout here. Meet the Robinsons. Love that movie. My husband and I gush over it. We watched it even by ourselves. It's a good movie. Meet the Robinsons. And you will see a character that was the roommate. And I cannot think of the roommate's names. These names are not my thing today. Nonetheless, Meet the Robinson. There is the character that was the roommate that stayed up all night and had to deal with all the BS that the Robinson character was giving, the main character, our protagonist, was giving, because he wasn't really doing everything right. He was very, very selfish. He wanted to get adopted by any means possible, and I understand it. He wanted to get out of that hellhole. He wanted to be in a family. He also wanted his inventions to go forth, right? But he didn't recognize how his own behaviors and actions were affecting his roommate. And his roommate, who we call Goober, right? His Goober. He was just stuck. He was stuck in this pain that he was in. And he literally became worse. I would even say that he was kind of like a major character. Because our dynamic character in that case was, in fact, the one for Meet the Robinson, the main one with the little blonde hair and little, you know, alfalfa sprout, right? You know, I'm dating myself. You can tell my age, alfalfa sprout. So he was kind of like our main character, our protagonist. But I would even say that Goober would be our major character because he was, and let's look at what a major character is. Let me give you the definition. Those who are under the protagonist, but still pretty important to the plot, second character in the hierarchy. He was definitely a second character, and he definitely pushed that movie forward. And it was his energy that caused a lot of different changes in the movie. And then what was so magnificent is that he himself had a change at the end. Once he recognized that the hat invention was against him, she was like this AI kind of hat. Nothing against AI. Don't come against me. Don't come for me. Okay, so it's like this AI hat, and she just kind of was mechanical and doing her own thing, and it was really not in favor of Goop because she wanted to take over. And once he recognized she's not for me, and once he, you know, received his apology and there was closure, he recognized, I need to be able to move forward. That was a dynamic change. He changed from his beginning, even from his middle, to his end. And I would even say that he had more of a change than our protagonist. And he realized you have to keep moving forward. And it was awesome. If you haven't seen that movie, please check it out. If you have Disney Plus, I say after this live, not right now, after this live, go to Disney Plus and check out Meet the Robinsons. It is an amazing movie. So many awesome and amazing points, and it's great. It's great. So I would say definitely check it out. Oh, Curiosity J. Hey, Curiosity J, I got it. I will check out your video later. I have to take care of something. Thanks for sharing. I love your energy. Well, I love your energy too, sis. Thank you so much for sharing that comment and that compliment. I appreciate it. So let's go on to static character. Static character has a distinct personality, philosophy, and belief, which they abide by and decide them only a few times. Only a few times. Only a few times. In a fictional chapter, I'm sorry, wait. That's a different one. So only a few times. So they're only going to change it. I was going on to another point. So a static character only makes a decision a few times. They have a distinct personality. So just kind of like how something can be very static, like static water. It's not a lot of movement, stagnant. You're not going to see a whole lot of movement with this character. They pretty much just stay the same. Think of people that you know who you haven't talked to them in about 4 or 5 years and they are still living the same life. Maybe things are just a little bit different. Maybe they have a different kind of job, but it's still the same kind of job. Maybe they have one more extra kid, but they still kind of have the same parenting philosophy. Like, they are not really changing a whole lot. It's just the reality. You have some people that are movers and shakers, and you have some people that are just, doesn't matter how many years go by, how many days, how many months, they still have the same beliefs, same personalities. It just doesn't change. And it can be, now for me, kind of personality type that I have, people that are static, it's really, really, really like hard for me. It's really, really hard for me. I would almost say it's like a pet peeve, but I don't want to be that like ornery, but it is kind of a pet peeve because I'm like, how can you still be in the same spot? Time is moving. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, get up and go. Do it. That's me. That's my personality. Not everybody else is like that. There's some people who are cool and calm with having the same thing happen almost every day and expecting the same thing regardless if it's good or bad. They will not really make a lot of changes to affect or influence how their life is. That's just reality. It has to be a balance. And that's really what I want to bring to this, is that no matter what characters that you develop, there needs to be a balance. You can't have all dynamic characters. There are movers and shakers and having revelations and reflecting and becoming and evolving. You can't, because it's not realistic. You can't have all characters that just stay the whole same and never do change and they are stuck on their principles and beliefs and traditions. That's not realistic. You have to have this mix, and that's where you get the balance. Just kind of think like balance beams. You have to have this mix of dynamic and static and major and minor. Now, think about minor, because we already talked briefly about major. Minor characters are a fictional character in a book, movie, or TV series who either doesn't appear often or just not very important. So these are kind of like your characters that just kind of like peep in. When I'm like, hi, they may say a joke or two. They may end up giving some gossip that helps move the story along. Hi, Christy16, how are you? So they may say some gossip or something or give some news or revelation that kind of like helps move the story to the next chapter or to the next plot point, right? But they're not very instrumental to your story. You still need them, right? They're the ones that's like, hey, I remember when your dad was hanging out on 7th Street. You may want to check with the neighbors. And you don't see them anymore. And then, you have a character trying to find out information about their dad. And then I'm just throwing it out there. They go on 7th Street. They find out some more information about the characters. Well, even with that, right? Hi, Unicorn Moon 2020. Those people that they talk to who live on 7th Street may not even be major characters. They could be minor characters. Guess what? They could even be invisible characters. I did a chat on here before about invisible characters. And it was so impactful that even my children, I have to say this, it's not like a brag, it's more like a pat on the back. You know what I mean? You gotta pat yourself on the back. Do you guys remember that in elementary? That'd be like, pat yourself on the back. And you need to do it. That's like, like your inner child needs that pat. Pat on the back. Pat on the back. So it's a pat on the back. It was so impactful that my children remember it. And to this day, while they do their story, because they are all just amazing writers, amazing artists. I can brag on my children, okay? And I got a right to, because they're fantastic. Nonetheless, they will talk to me about their invisible characters. They'll be like, hey, I got this one, and she's an invisible character, so you're not going to see her. And if I develop this into a TV series, this is just going to be the character that you hear about. Or you may hear her voice, but you never see her, or you never see him. And I was like, that has to be an impactful topic that I spoke about because it impacted them. It impacts them. I know I got something. So listen, an invisible character is someone, just like I said, you may never see. You hear spoken of. You may hear a voice about. You may hear their voice, never do see them physically. This works best, of course, when working with our dolls and doing our photography. This works best in a TV series, a play, a movie. Something visual is when you would really, thank you, love the Barbie. I'm going to be honest with you. Shh, it's a little bit of a secret. This is my daughter's hat. I'm still in the process of getting some Barbie gear, but we hooked up our youngest daughter with some Barbie gear. Mine is on the way, as well as the other two girls. You know, we're all learning about long suffering and patience and being okay with it, making sure the youngest one gets her Barbie gear before us. But I asked her, I was like, can I borrow your hat today? And that little 5-year-old self was like, yes. So I got on the hat. Love movies. There you go. So something visual was where you were going to really be able to impact your storyline with an invisible character. Now, when it comes to a character that is minor, we can write that in a novel. We can write that in a short story. We can write that in a book. We can write that most definitely with our storyline with our, you name it, our dolls, right? That's something to think about. Now, we already talked about our dynamic, our static, our minor, our major. Let's get into our foil and our symbolic, and then I'll be saying bye-bye. So let's go into foil. Foil, did we talk about major? Yes, we did. But let me give you the definition for major before we move on. Those who are under the protagonist, but still pretty important to the plot. They are second character in hierarchy, okay? So you want to think about that. This is going to be the second most important character in your hierarchy. If you have a problem connecting with certain movies like, what did I say? Meet the Robinsons. Well, then look at your soap operas. Look at your soap operas. There's plenty of soap operas where you have this really major important character, right? Or the important family, right? And then under that, you've got another important character, but this has like a little bit less of influence, right? They're not the protagonist. Love TV shows. Me too. I know, right? I didn't realize how much TV shows and movies I watched or even music I watched until I joined our creative community. And then people would like put music in their storyline or on their story part of their IG. And I was like, I know that song. I didn't care what kind it was. It could be folk. It could be rock. It could be rap, it could be 90s hip-hop, it could be neo-soul, it could be Motown. Come on, country. I'm there with it. I'm there with it. I was like, wow, I really did listen to a lot of music and watch a lot of TV shows and movies. Love soap operas and episodes. So definitely examine, observe, and really, really analyze the characters that are in the story. And you're going to be able to pull and ascertain what you need to for your own storyline. All right. So let's get into foil. Foil serves as voice boxes for opinions that cannot, for whatever reason, be expressed by the protagonist. I'm going to say it again. Hi, Noelle. How you doing? Foil serves as a voice box for the opinions that cannot, for whatever reason, be expressed by the protagonist. For whatever reason. I have a political example right here, so don't get mad at me. Hi, Coach Plague with an I, not a Y, with an I. That's my husband, who I love and adore so much. You guys need any information about training, you're ready to get on board and start training, definitely DM him and let him know. All right, so let's talk about foil. The best example I can give, without me having to say, like, am I left, right, whatever, that doesn't even matter. Let's just give an example. There was a time in which there was a president named Barack Obama, right? And he served, and I think it was like towards the end of his term, maybe like the second term towards the end, and he brought on, was it Key and Peele? He brought on one of the guys. Someone help me, Key and Peele. I think it was, we have Jordan Peele. Wait, Jordan Peele. So he brought on the Key guy. I can't think of his first name. Someone help me. I told you today's not my day with names. But he brought him on to express what he thought and what he felt. Now, if we take this out of the political realm and we look at a comedian, there was Dave Chappelle, and he had his Chappelle Show series. I was really, Keegan, thank you, baby. That was my husband. Can it be based on true story or fiction? We'll get back to that, or fact. Let's get to that. Okay, so when we look at Keegan, is it Keegan Key? Is it really a KK? I don't know, but let's just look at the factor being that he gave the thoughts of the president without the president having to express it, because the president couldn't express it, because if he would have said those things, then he could have gotten impeached, right? In the case of Dave Chappelle, he brought on a female opera singer to voice what he wanted to say, because he said that me as a black male saying these things is going to get my show canceled. So he had her to sing it in an opera style. So these are just examples that come to the top of my head as to why a protagonist wouldn't be able to really express themselves and would need someone that's a voice box or narrator to say these things. Look at any Shakespeare play even. Oh, you know how much I love Shakespeare. You know I love William Shakespeare. I talk about it a whole lot, guys. William Shakespeare often has monologues and soliloquies and characters that are voice boxes for the other characters who cannot express themselves. In many ways, we look at the play Othello, and if you know me, you know I love Othello. I love all the different versions. I even love it when they did blackface. I know that sounds horrible, but I love Laurence Olivier. I do. I love Laurence Olivier. But of course, not when Lawrence Fishburne did the role. Totally taken back. But you read the play, you get even more succulent details to really grasp hold of. And then that way you don't have to choose, like, do I like it when it's done this way or do I like it when it's done this way? Let's get to the original context of which it was written. So we have this amazing storyline. And we have Othello, and he is in conversation a lot of times within his own mind. And with that, he has Iago, who's like a best friend, supposed to be a confidant and an advisor, and he's always leading him down the wrong path because he wants to benefit off of the demise of Othello. And he doesn't just give us information about what his next step is on being able to tear down Othello and the reign and kingdom of Othello. I'm just saying kingdom loosely, but the reign of Othello, but he also gives even the thoughts of Othello during a time in which Othello is not able to articulate it. So really do examine the things that you already look at and read and watch and see it from the perspective of your character. How can you fit this into your storyline? And let's get into symbolic. Symbolic represents a concept or theme larger than themselves. It may have dynamic characters, but exists to steer an audience mind towards broader concepts. And most of these are your supporting characters. Okay, so most of these are your supporting characters. This represents a concept or a theme larger than themselves. It may have dynamic characters, but it really just exists to show you a symbol. So I'm trying to think right now of a movie that could give you a visual of what we're talking about. I'm kind of thinking Romeo and Juliet, if I look at the maiden, and that she served as this middle person of matriarchy, because she's showing what it means to give maternal love and to have concern and want the best for Juliet, but yet the mother was very, very stuck on traditions and very, very stuck on having her own life and being able to have the luxury of what life had for her. And so she didn't have that same kind of love. So the maiden, or the maid to Juliet, was showing a maternal love. She was symbolic of that, right? So let me get to these questions. Like I said, I'm not going to hold you because I do hear my children. Can it be based on a true story or fiction or fact? It says or fiction, but I'm guessing that you mean or fact. Can it be based on true story? Most definitely. If you want your storyline to focus on something that's true, I say go for it. Do it, because in so many ways that can be therapeutic. We talk about very often connecting with our inner child. We talk about being able to relate to life in a whole new way, having adult play therapy, right? And part of adult play therapy is being able to release and heal. Best way of doing that is by putting out something factual. There's been storylines that I've had that have been a smidget based on the reality of my life. If not based on my life, then based off of those who I've met, who I've known on this journey called life, and being able to take those snippets and put it into a story form with a new name. I do not use the names of people that I've ever known, but being able to put a new name and a little bit of a twist, a little drama twist to it, or a little comical twist to it, which kind of helps me to be able to digest that storyline better and release and heal. And in so many different ways, I find that by doing that, people are also able to heal. I get comments, I get DMs saying this helped me out so much. So being able to share your truth can also be a ministry of helping someone else, right? I have someone in my life that I call my soul sister, because that's what she is to me. And she writes, and I'm telling you, regardless if it's fact or fiction, people grab hold to it and they're like, I've been there. I understand that. I feel that, right? And it helps them to release and to heal. So you never do know what amount of truth that you share in your storyline that can end up helping someone else to heal. If you have a problem on finding where to get an idea for a story, look at your life. Look at what you've been through. Look at what you've overcome. Look at the funny stuff, the good stuff. Look at the comments that someone says to you and really like maw over it and say, I can use that in a story. I can put that comment in a story and watch it just fester and grow into something bigger. Your next question was, how about running a story about romance and love? I love romance and love. I love me some romance and love. Most definitely. Hi, Naughty Doll Fashion. Thank you for joining. If you want to do a story about romance and love, I say definitely do that. Only thing is, Unicorn Moon 2020, is that we are in a different era with our IG account, right? Where I am noticing that there's a lot of censorship going on in our doll community, unfortunately. And I would say be smart on how you present your romance and love scenes. That would probably be my main thing, is to be smart about how you illustrate that. I have noticed that some people are using the blur effect, the bokeh effect, more for any physical love scenes, or they may kind of have the framing offset, so you only see like a portion of maybe the bodies or a portion of the kissing, so that they can still be able to get that out there, get the story out and be creative and present their art form, but also be able to still remain on the IG platform. So I think that you do need to be really, really smart about how you do it. Coming up really, really soon, just to give you guys a little snippet, a little peek into what's to come, I am going to be having a conversation very, very soon with someone who is a member of our doll community about the censorship that is here, and how we can overcome it and still be able to present such really good art and material. I'm noticing a lot of our doll collectors with amazing storylines that's funny, that's informative, that's entertaining. They're going to blogs, and I have no issue with blogs. In fact, I'm subscribed to a countless number of blogs that are involved with, of members that are involved with our doll community. But it's unfortunate because they're not really sharing that storyline and those photos here on IG because of the censorship. And it's just gotten really out of hand, in my opinion, especially whenever you can see humans doing more graphic stuff in reels and photos, and yet they're not being censored. So I want us to be able to come together and talk, and I will have a date available for when we have that conversation, that chat, because I would love to get you guys included in on that and hear your voices as well on how you feel about the censorship that's taking place. I really do feel that it's causing us to not be able to present our art form the way that we need to. We're not able to really present our story the way that we need to. Now, I do agree that there have been some people that have been extremely sloppy with their, sexual photos of intimacy and so forth. Maybe they've been kind of sloppy and it had nothing to do with the storyline, but there are some people that have not been sloppy. It's had everything to do with the storyline, and it's unfortunate to have to see them move their stories to blogs because of the censorship that's taking place. So I want us to be able to talk about it, and that's what we're going to be doing. I will put out a virtual flyer for that. That won't be an improv. That will be or I should say that won't be an impromptu. That will be something that we are going to set in stone and put a date on, because I want to hear your voices. I want to know how this affects you, what your thoughts are, how can we overcome it. Like I said, if you're going to do a love story, if you're going to do something where there's intimacy involved, be smart about it. But I wouldn't say stop, because those stories still have value. those stories are still worth it. So guys, I am going to go ahead and say bye-bye. I love you all. This has been awesome, fam. If you notice, I'm representing today Barbie and my U of L. But my husband just came in and I want to share some cherry kisses with them. So I will talk to you guys later. You guys have an amazing day. Thank you for being with me. Bye-bye.